It's a timeline we'll be calling forever for a long time. That guitar gets me so high.
Good morning, world. This is the John and Alex Show. I'm Alex.
And I'm John.
And this is Cupcake.
Hey, Cupcake.
And thanks for joining us on this beautiful Monday morning. It's Motivation Monday.
Yes, it is.
And today we wanted to talk to you all a little bit about productivity and learning to get your week going. I know that if you're a student, you're probably in finals week or just approaching finals week. So, oh, there goes Cupcake. So we wanted to share a few tips that we had on how we study and how we get productive in our workday.
Yeah, I think for me it's less studying, more learning.
Yes,
you know,
absolutely.
I know that you were closer to college than I was. I'm a little older than you, so I haven't been in school per se for a while. However, I am a lifelong learner, so there's so many different resources out there that are available for learning, and some really cool things we hope to discuss with you today. And we'd love to hear from you about ways that you're productive and ways that you learn and acquire new knowledge.
Yes, definitely. And you definitely don't have to be in an educational institution to get an education.
Of course.
And like John mentioned, I'm a recent graduate. I graduated from the University of Hawaii at Manoa in 2014, and I'm currently an MBA student at Argus University, and I'm actually going to be graduating next spring, so that's exciting.
Awesome. That's not far away.
Yeah. So I'm actually in finals week as well. I've got an exam tonight, and so it should be fun. But yeah, I have found over the years of taking test after test that studying, cramming, I mean, it doesn't do too much, right? It's more about the actual learning that takes place throughout the year, and then hopefully during that like 1 week that you're actually like really studying.
So what kind of learner would you say you are, Alex?
Well, you know, I learn from a variety of methods, and I don't think I can just learn specifically from one. So I'm not very good at just like reading a textbook and absorbing all the information. If I am, then I have to be like taking notes and writing at the same time, and playing a lot of tricks or games with myself to actually understand and memorize the information. I don't know how some people can just read a textbook and like know all the information like that.
I'm definitely more of a visual learner. I need to go through an activity. I need to experience something in order for me to really absorb it. You know, it's just I'm definitely more of a creative type.
Same here. Yeah, I like I said, trying to pull in lots of different sources. And if, for instance, if I'm studying for a specific topic, or I've got a couple different things I'm working on, then I'll probably try to read a couple articles on it or watch a few videos on it. I definitely don't stick with the material that I've just been given, because oftentimes that's not enough for me to really understand and take in the information, because I feel like I have to always try to apply it back to real life, or like, how am I going to use this? Like that was the age-old question for me as I was studying. Like, when am I ever going to use this? You know,
I wasn't the best student growing up. You know, it wasn't because I wasn't smart. I just, you know, I wasn't interested in how I was receiving the information. So it wasn't until probably my junior year in high school that I really discovered what I loved, and that was computers. And at the time, it was a business microcomputer course that I took. And I was able to tell a story about one of my, I guess, ethnicities, Spanish, through a PowerPoint presentation. As you could say, it's like my first pitch deck kind of thing. So this was like 2000, probably year 2000. And I first started learning computers, and I realized that I can learn information and I can tell stories through computers, through technology. And that's really what got me interested. I ended up becoming A+ certified computer technician, and then ended up attending High Tech Quest, which is a statewide technology fair. And that kind of springboarded my entire career.
That's awesome. Wow, it's super cool. And you really jumped on board right when computers were becoming the
literally
big
as soon as I discovered that I could use technology, you know, web development to tell stories, to help businesses to grow and sell things and scale. I was like, this is it. I'm good. And I really absorbed it. Once I made learning a function of business, that changed my entire mindset.
Sure. And I love how you mentioned that even though you weren't particularly good at school, that didn't mean that you weren't smart.
Right.
Because I think that so many people really need to understand that. There are definitely a lot of people who aren't necessarily good at school, but they're brilliant, you know, and it's about finding that passion and finding things that you're good at and really working on those, because I mean, everyone starts from somewhere, right? And everyone can improve throughout their lives. We're lifelong learners, as you mentioned. So that's really awesome.
I think the education system or schools in general have come a long way just in, I guess, the techniques and technologies that they use. When I say technology, it's really more the methodologies, you know, different ways of thinking. I think using tools like iPads and technology, social networks, different gamification of different techniques to give people in general just a better opportunity to learn and grow. I know there's some awesome stuff that's happening on the Leeward Coast, specifically at Seawriter Productions, where they use video production and storytelling, television storytelling, to really tackle real life issues. And it's made a huge impact out there. Candy Suiso and John Allen did an amazing job out there in launching this whole concept of learning through video storytelling. And it's really, they've seen a huge improvement through that program. You know, Harvard graduates coming out of Waianae High School.
That's awesome.
And then there's a real life arm of Seawriter Productions called Makaha Studios, which produces actual commercial projects, television commercials, web development, websites, applications, and stuff for everyday people, everyday business.
That's so cool. That is actually something that I'm really passionate about, and I love I love hearing about these stories, because I've been really trying to figure out, okay, how can we make people more passionate about learning and applying, you know, a lot of these things that we need to know to their real lives, and how can we become more productive members of society and by finding these methods. And one of the things that I did through my years, Ms. Kahala, was I went to different schools and I would give motivational talks as part of my platform, Youth Empowering Youth. And I would talk about the 4 Ps of Youth Empowering Youth, which is purpose, passion, preparation, and performance. And I think that's, you know, each of those elements is really important in anything that you're doing. So first of all, you have to have a purpose. Like, why am I doing this? Of course, finding your passion, those things that you're interested in, because that's what you're going to really put your energy towards, right? And then preparation is the actual dirty work that you got to do to finally perform and do that task. And so a lot of times when I went to these schools, we would do these workshops where I would get the students together in groups and have them think about their, you know, their passions, like what do they like to do, and how can that serve an overall greater purpose. So for example, one of the classes that I went to, you know, this is actually a group in Kalihi, and a lot of the students, the group itself were students that had dropped out of high school and were now trying to get a diploma. It's called the competency-based something, or it's called CBASE. I forgot what that stands for. But anyway, it's a diploma program. And, you know, these students come from backgrounds where they definitely have struggled. And so I told them, you know, think back to your struggle, because you're the only person that has truly been able to have that unique experience. And how can you turn this around and make it something better? And so, you know, we had them get in groups, talk about their passions, and at first they had a hard time. They're like, I don't know what I like to do. You know, like, I just like to cruise with my friends and whatnot. So I kind of had to pull teeth a little bit. But eventually they started coming out with things like this one group said, oh, I like basketball. And so I said, okay, like, how can we take basketball and make it something where you can do something about that? And this particular group, their purpose was to help those who are hungry. Or those who are homeless. And so I said, okay, try to connect basketball with this. And they're like, what? Like, that's so crazy. And then they came up with this idea. What if we held a basketball tournament where everyone who participated or came to watch the game had to donate a canned good? And they would, you know, give food to the homeless or those in need in that way. Another group really liked video production, and they wanted to share with their friends the dangers of drinking and driving, or, you know, drinking too much. And so they thought, okay, what if we put together a video, like a PSA? So it's really cool to see them start thinking out of the box and applying things that they knew or they were learning about, and to serve a better purpose. And I think that's something that we need to think about with education, is, okay, what is the purpose behind all of this? Is it really, are you really in college just to, you know, get good grades and then get a stable job, and then what, right? What is that going to serve? So that's something that I've been trying to explore more lately,
Mhm.
and I'd love to hear other people's thoughts on education and the purpose behind it.
Well,
and
your
thoughts.
entire pageant platform is youth empowering youth, right?
Right,
So
yeah.
it's super cool to see these kinds of programs and these efforts. You know,
Yeah.
one of I have a really favorite. I guess the concept per se I really like, and that's the concept of grit.
Mm.
I'm not sure if you saw a TED Talk by a woman. Her name is Angela Lee Duckworth, and she has a TED Talk called "The Key to Success." And it talks about grit and her experience, you know, working in and out of, of lower income schools, you know, in different areas. I want to say it was Chicago, where she was working, and realized that the key to a lot of these students' success and showing in higher test scores and everything was grit. Going through a tougher childhood, having I guess a different passion and outlook and drive to achieve something. You know I've mentioned this before, just doing a lot of personal development and learning about myself and continuing to better myself. I realized that awareness is only one part of the equation. You know, being aware that I need to learn something new or take another step is just one part of it. Without actually taking action, that awareness means nothing.
Sure.
So, you know, I think Tony Robbins also said it, you know, action will always trump talent.
Yeah. That's really cool. That's really cool. And I know that grit has become more of a buzzword lately. A lot of people are using it, and I think this a lot of the connotations that come with it are becoming more singular.
Sure.
Another one is resilience. I think goes along with grit and having that ability to get back up again each time you fall. And I think that's where the true leaders come from. I mean, if you think about people who have done extremely well, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, you know, and a lot of them haven't necessarily gone through the same formulaic path that society is kind of like encouraging us to go upon.
Are you saying they're college dropouts?
Yeah.
So academic.
Well, I mean, you know, I think it's really important to say that it's not just because they dropped out of college that they became successful, right? It's because they had to go through something where they realized that their hard work is going to get them to the top. It wasn't necessarily just a piece of paper that you get at the end of the day after paying so much money, but it's something that a lot of people who have had to have that grit and resilience learned, is that hard work is really going to pay off. Absolutely. It's passion, it's drive, and it's being focused in pursuing what you want to do, you know, and it's taking the punches and getting back up and continuing to go, you know. I only attended a few college courses, you know, in new media, and it's never, not having a college degree has never gotten in the way of me landing corporate positions and managerial positions, starting my own business. It was that 14, 15 years of hard work that really has earned me, I believe, you know, a higher level of education. It's more experience-based. However, working with other professionals that do have 2 masters, double master degrees, PhDs, you can definitely see a different way of thinking, you know, and a more of a formal training. I feel like a lot of that has to do with process and mindset, you know, whereas someone that maybe doesn't have that formal education lacks a little bit of a foundation for different ways of thinking, you know. And I think it's also exposure to different techniques and different methodologies, you know, that might not be available to someone who's just diving in and getting it. However, even though we're using the same techniques, it helps to put a name or, you know, having a little bit more structure to what those techniques are that someone who maybe hasn't attended formal college has acquired through just, you know, doing life. And and it's really interesting that you mentioned that, because I think it does differ a lot by what industry you're in and the field that you're in, because certain jobs do, or certain careers really do take a lot more of that process building almost, and getting those thought processes together. For instance, if you're going to become a lawyer, it's really important to go to law school so you learn how to think like a lawyer. Well, self-taught lawyers, are there any of them out there? Probably, I'm sure there are. I mean, sure. And I mean, like, obviously you wouldn't become a doctor, like a brain surgeon without going to school. So you know, there's different considerations. Obviously, I think some of the more I guess intangible you know, skill sets, things like communication skills, things like common sense, you know, street smarts. You know, it's what you see a lot of these gritty entrepreneurs, they're sort of street smart, you know, they've been through it, they're scrappy, and
you know, they have what Gary Vaynerchuk would say, the chops. You know, and that's not necessarily something that comes through education. It just comes through having that passion and drive to succeed.
Yeah. So we're definitely not advocating, oh, just drop out of school or anything like that. But we are saying that it's really important to take your education seriously and find that greater purpose. And even if it's not in that specific institution that you're going to be learning, to take every bit of learning or every opportunity in life to learn.
Yeah. Good stuff. Apparently we have a lot to say about this.
Yeah, I guess we're pretty passionate about it.
So what are some ways that you learn, Alex, just in everyday, you know, being that you are in school?